Welcome to Stemmy Conversations. Today, I'll be your host, Kenita Roberts, accompanied by Bradley Downer and Stephanie Simon. Just a reminder to tune in to Stemmy Conversations on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Anchor, and TikTok, where we talk all things STEM and ICT. Today, we're joined by a lovely guest, Dr. Camir Ricketts. He earned his PhD in computational biology and medicine from Weill Cornell Medicine in Manhattan, New York, with a focus in cancer genomics. He is a bioinformatics scientist in artificial intelligence for NVIDIA. He's also the founder of Minds of Jamaica. Dr. Ricketts is an award-winning individual who is an ardent advocate for science and innovation. Welcome, Dr. Ricketts, to Stemmy Conversations. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well. Thanks for the invite. There's a snowstorm here in New York, so everybody is indoors for the most part.
Okay. Stephanie, how are you?
I'm doing fine over here so far.
Okay. Bradley?
From a presentation, but I'm good.
Okay, awesome. So getting into our conversation today, the first thing we'd like to know is what career are you doing, and can you give us a description of bioinformatics?
Gotcha. So I'm a bioinformatics scientist at NVIDIA, and what bioinformatics is really is just using computing statistical methods to answer biological questions, right? So at NVIDIA, we're focused on genomics and how can we use things like our GPUs to accelerate genomics, to accelerate all the computing that is necessary to answer these biological questions, such as, for an example, determining where mutations are in a particular human genome or stuff like that, right? And computational biology as a whole is really a field that I'm very passionate about, and I love what it's being used to do in the space of science and innovation. Is really where computer science, genetics, biology, math all kind of intersect into one beautiful field that allows us to really dive into a lot of the data now that we're getting, right? There's a huge information explosion in biology now that we can sequence the human genome and sequence all these genomes, and computational biology is a way through which we can ask questions of that data and get new conclusions and new insights from that data.
Okay, I must admit that when Bradley told me about bioinformatics, I was like, what? I have never heard of that. It actually took me a while to, even though it's like two simple words put together, it took me a while to be like bioinformatics. So I must admit that I did not hear about it. I did a little bit of reading on it to see, what exactly it is. And it's very interesting that, it's like where data and bio and among other things comes together.
Yeah,
so can you say, oh yeah, continue.
No, I was just going to say, think about it. Know that we're in a world now where data, everything is increased data, right? So the science is no different. So we have 3 billion nucleotides in the human genome, and we're able to sequence all of it, and across thousands and thousands of humans. No one person can sit down and look at that information and make sense of it, right? So it makes sense that now we have to, all right, let's borrow from computer science all these approaches that are designed to make sense of large amounts of data and apply them in our area as well.
Yeah, so in my reading, I would have seen this particular career moving towards more of the ICT side rather than the STEM side, due because of the information aspect. So can you tell us how ICT is integrated into bioinformatics?
I think I don't know if you'd say it leans more to one side than the other, because
Okay.
people who do computational biology, like for me, my training is majority in microbiology during undergrad, and then once I started my PhD, I started diving more into cancer biology, along with more the quantitative kind of skill sets, like statistical modeling and programming and that kind of stuff. But in terms of ICT and computing, a lot of computational biology and bioinformatics, a part of it involves how do we store this data, right? So
Okay.
things like database management and how to build computing infrastructure to be able to support all this data that we're producing and trying to run analysis on is a big part of bioinformatics. So you'll find people who they end up falling along the spectrum in computational biology in terms of there's some people who are more trained on the pure computer science side or more trained in networking side, and they'll find different roles in computational biology and all of it, to fulfill that goal of being able to host and store large amounts of data, and also effectively scale any kind of solutions that we develop in a lab and apply to large amounts of biological data. But a lot of people in computational biology still view from somebody or microbiologist. It's just that the kind of data, the kind of experiments we run, instead of it being in vivo, meaning like in the lab, we're running it in silico, right? We're running it on servers. We're running things on the computer. We're simulating things a lot of times and doing predictions using the computer. So I view it as a nice balance between both those areas.
Okay. Okay. Thank you for clearing that up. Riley, do you have a question?
Hi, Camir. Yes, I have a question. I have more than one question,
Mhm.
actually, right? So, what was your journey like when you did like what led you to do bioinformatics or computational biology?
Mhm. Yeah, I
And
think
what
for
was your journey like to where you are now?
okay. Yeah, so for me, so I at first I wanted to be an architect when I was much younger, and then in high school I started getting into the science subjects a little bit more, and I was able to in I think in seventh grade I was able to get into a program that I had in Jamaica where every summer would go to University of West Indies, Mona, and as high school students, and we would get exposed to microbiology, biotechnology, robotics, all these different fields, and I was like, yeah, the idea of being a research scientist, seemed very very appealing to me, right? It seemed very cool. The idea of answering questions, being able to ask new questions, that kind of stuff was something that I was really start to grow on me. And it is a lot of times when you're involved in science or you're doing well in the science subjects, they'll push you to be a physician and stuff like that. But for me, I was not really interested. I knew from an early age I didn't want to be a physician, right? But I knew that medicine was fascinating from a research standpoint. And then as I progressed through high school, towards the end of high school, I started getting interested in programming, right? I got my computer and break it down and build it back up myself and all that kind of stuff. Gaming, video games and stuff is always a good way to like get you hooked on learning about graphics cards and all that kind of stuff. So I was really getting curious about that. So for a while there, towards the end of high school, I was considering maybe going and be a network engineer or a server administrator. As a young, you're exploring all these different career options, and you're trying to assess what are my skill sets and where are my interests, and trying to make sense of it. And then towards the end of like sixth form now, I was pretty much still committed to doing, being a research scientist and pursuing something in biology. But it was just nagging at me, like, my interest in like programming. I ended up, while I was in sixth form, I went and did an associate degree in IT in the evenings. So I'd go to like, sixth form in the days and do like my natural science subjects. And then in the evenings, I enrolled in an associate degree program in IT. And that's where I did programming and networking and fundamentals of computing and all these kind of stuff. So when I was trying to figure out what to do at the next step, university, I was like, all right, I'll do, microbiology because I think that's where my interests are. But I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do with this interest in computing and programming, but I guess I'll figure it out. So I went to University of Georgia for university, and I chose microbiology as my major, and then my minor would be computer science. Because in my mind, I was like, I don't know how any of these things fit together, but I'll keep trying to do both of them for as long as I can until somebody forces me to choose. Because in my mind, those are very separate things, right? They either, I go do microbiology and be a microbiologist, or do my computer science and go be a software engineer or something of the sort, right? Very, very different paths. But I'll say, I'll just keep trying to do both until somebody I reach a point where like, all right, no, you have to pick one. And then it was in my first year of university, great challenges in computer science or something like that. And the professor, it was just a random conversation after class, he was asking where I'm from, hear my accent in class. I was just chatting. So I was telling him about my dilemma, right? I think a lot of students go through this where they have multiple skill sets and multiple interests and they don't know how to merge them. And that was weird because it was just really nagging at me that I'm going to have to choose one at some point. And I was telling him about this and he was like, well, those two things sounds to him like bioinformatics. And I'm like, bio what? What are you talking about? Never, just like you said, Kenny, you never heard this before. So he was like, yes, go and look it up. So I remember heading back to my dorm room as quick as I can, jump on the internet. So I Googling bioinformatics. I call my mother, said, Mommy, bioinformatics, check it out. So she she back in Jamaica on the internet looking it up too, and looking up how much they make and what they do and all that kind of stuff. And I'm like, yeah, this look like is a perfect blend of what I'm trying to do. So, from that professor from that one conversation gave me a direction of one thing to point my efforts to, and that was bioinformatics, which I thought, it resolves so many things for me as a student trying to figure out what they want to do. So from there, I was like, they didn't have a bioinformatics major at my university because it's still a very young field. So there was no, I couldn't switch to a bioinformatics major. But I was like, okay, any undergraduate research I do, I want to work in a lab that allows me to do, at least try it out. Because I'm really big, and this is something I tell students all the time. If you have an interest, try to put yourself in a position where you can try it out hands-on, right? Explore it in some way, shape, or form. So, for example, I've been doing that through my entire academic career. When I was in high school and I thought I was interested in science, I got into a program that allowed me to go to University of West Indies. When I started thinking about, I was, kind of interested in programming, I enrolled in an associate degree in IT in the evening. So every time I think of an interest, I try to actually explore it and see, and answer the question, do I actually like it or not? So this would be no different. So I got into undergraduate research in a lab that was doing bioinformatics, and got my first taste of it. And then towards the end, and I was still working on microbiology problems. And then towards the end of university, I worked with a cancer bioinformatician, and that was my first time kind of, looking into cancer and that kind of stuff. And I was like, yo, this is really, really fascinating. I think I want to do that to the next step, at the next level. And that's kind of how I ended up doing a PhD that was focused in cancer genomics. And because I did all the undergraduate research, which I didn't even realize at the time, but I was able to skip my master's because I did undergraduate research. I didn't have to do a master's. I just went straight from bachelor's to a PhD. And I went to Weill. It's not Weill, it's Weill Cornell Medicine. No worries, man. Weill Cornell Medicine, and worked with Dr. Iman Hasrasulia in his lab.
Okay. I love that story. I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yes. It kind of gives me an idea. Like whatever you want, you have to want it bad and go after it.
Yeah.
No matter what may happen. Another question, Camir. Why did you found Minds of Jamaica? Can you tell us a bit about Minds of Jamaica? What it does?
Minds of Jamaica. Yeah. So I'm a bioinformatics scientist, but then I'm also the founder of this organization that I love with all my heart, called Minds of Jamaica, and then the umbrella org is called Minds of Initiative, because we're launching Minds of Trinidad and Tobago in a few weeks. So that's pretty exciting. But we're really focused on career mentorship and giving students the ability to engage with professionals in the field that they aspire to be in, right? And I think career mentorship is huge. And what I just talked about kind of is a good example of that. It was a conversation with somebody, this professor during my first year at university, that he, because of where he is in life and his position, his understanding of the field and the options are, far greater than what my understanding was at that time as a freshman in university. And just that one conversation with him helped clarify so many things, because he was able to point me in a direction that was for me, right? In just one conversation. And I think that is something that a lot of students don't get exposed to, somebody in the field who, have gone through it before, who have made some of the mistakes before, and so on. They don't get really, really consistent access to those people. And we're building Minds of Jamaica to kind of solve that problem, where we're housing now, a variety of professionals across teams. So, STEM and the arts disciplines in a variety of industries, and basically just having them there available for students to engage with, and ask questions, to engage in one-on-one mentorship around their careers. Because I don't know about other islands, but in Jamaica, mentorship is important, but I think we focus so much on the kind of mentorship where it's more, trying to mentor young men so that they don't join gangs, and we're missing that the focus on career mentorship as well. So we're building Minds of Jamaica, Minds of Initiative, to do that, and that's because I know how impactful it has been in my personal career journey, and because I've talked with students. I go back to Jamaica, I give lectures at the university, I speak with students from my old high school, and it's very apparent that a lot of students, just like me, are in that state where they're trying to figure out what to do and where to go with their careers and what to focus on. And you have so many students who pick majors and end up realizing that it's not for them. And if only they had somebody to really give them, what is it actually like being a radiologist, or what is it actually like, pursuing marketing and being a marketer, especially in the context of your island, of your country, right? Because we Google these careers, but a lot of the information online is so, is US and UK based, right? Like, what is it? What does it really look like to be a mechanical engineer in Jamaica, right? And speaking to a career mentor can give you that advice. To be a woman in medicine in your country, all those kind of questions that it gets deeper than just the kind of things you find online about what do radiologists do, or something that you'll find. So that's kind of what Minds of Jamaica is being built to do, and we've been we've had great success doing that, and then giving students access to programs now. So Bradley did one of our programs in bioinformatics, right? So allowing students to get that hands-on experience, or the career mentorship at the core of what we do, and then we surround that now with opportunities for students to dive into different fields and different industries.
Yeah, as we do these STEMmy conversations, we realize that a lot of our guests are stressing mentorship and how important it is for a person to find mentors to guide them down their wanted career path. Steph?
Well, he actually answered a couple of the questions in the mix about the advice that he would give to students and what is organized, the organization is about. But I'm glad that he brought it up, because during my time, I was between the business and the sciences, and I wasn't sure where to go. So I used to trick the work. I used to try to fit in a couple of the science subjects anywhere I go to see, okay, this is the part that I want. But I still wanted to put a bit of the business aspect into it. And it was a battle for me at the time, because you're always getting this thing bang into your head. Go with the business part, go with the business part. And sometimes it may not be your part 100%. And you may want to find yourself in the middle to do something that you love doing. And as you say, when you do what you love, you don't really work a day or two, because it's a passion that you're bringing out. So mentorship in the career, and especially as you said, is something that we need to focus on, because as you said, we're comparing with the United States, and in Guyana or Jamaica or Trinidad, it's a totally different level. So I think that it's something that we need to fill the gap with. So yeah.
And I think a lot of because I was like this, as a student, high school, coming up in even early university, you'll hear about career mentorship or hear about stuff like networking, but it doesn't because it is one of those things that's not very tangible, like a scholarship per se, right? Of course, scholarship gives me money, tuition needs to get paid. It's easy to assign that value and value that. But when you hear about mentorship, and you're like, man, it's just, somebody answer questions like, what? How can that be, that important? And just exposing people and having them really get to learn the value of it. And we've had students who've come to Minds of Jamaica, not really buying into this idea around career mentorship, and maybe them just do it because it's free and it's something to do and whatever. But once they start going through that process, and once they get the right fit in terms of mentor and mentee, you start to see and start to reap the benefits. Like we've had so many cool stories to come out of Minds of Jamaica. That is not something that in the beginning I can promise you. Like I can't tell you, okay, guaranteed you come to Minds of Jamaica, you get a mentor and this and this and this will happen. But I know good things will happen. Like we've had a mentee who came to Minds of Jamaica and just so happened that they were a business student, but they're really into writing and self-publishing. And then the mind that they got, because we call all our mentors the minds. So the mind that they got matched with and stuff, turns out that he was trying to write a book but was looking for somebody to handle self-publishing. And then that mind and the mentee worked together for her to not only self-publish his book, but they worked together to launch a publishing company, for her to launch a publishing company, which is not something, I couldn't have told her that she come to Minds of Jamaica and she'll find a mind that was, so in sync and in alignment with what she was trying to do. She'll, get help to launch a publishing company out of it. But those are the kind of things, and we see this happen in many different ways, where it's just, having that insight from somebody who's gone through the process is invaluable.
So question, the mentorship program, do you have a particular time in which the program goes on? Or I know most naturally, you're attached to this person, you might actually take that mentor for a very, very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Under the organization, do you have a particular time frame? If you have
I think I understand what you mean. So generally speaking, so there are two things in terms of time. So do we run like cohorts during specific times of the year? Like, okay, Minds of Jamaica mentorship, we're running from June to August or something like that. No. So one of the big things is that it's a platform that's always available. So if it is a random Tuesday at 11 p.m. and you think of a question, you can go create an account and immediately submit your question to somebody. You don't have to wait until applications open or anything like that. That's kind of one of the biggest things we wanted to change, because a lot of organizations run in that cohort way, and so that's one of the ways we wanted to differentiate and change how we do this. And then in terms of the actual mentorship itself, normally those run 3 to 6 months, but we have after that, if the mentee and mind have other goals they want to work on, we don't step in and be like, okay, no, you can't speak to this person anymore or anything like that. But in terms of the 3 to 6 months is on average kind of the term of engagement, and the time of engagement usually.
Okay. Another question: do you have a particular age range?
Yeah. So we target. So we have one program called Rising Stars. That's 13 to 17, and then we have another program called Career Kickstart. That's 18 up to 35. So we're targeting the two groups there, and kind of the approach is slightly different. Where Rising Stars is more of a group mentorship process, and then the Career Kickstart, that's where you're engaging in one-on-one mentorship. And we've also, one thing that's important to me is continuing to innovate and using technology to innovate. So we built our own platform from the ground up. That is almost like, you can imagine that we built our own LinkedIn internally, that students log into, they can submit their questions, they get emails when their questions are answered, they can connect with mentors on the platform, and that's something that we're continuing to iterate and improve as a product to help make the mentorship process more and more seamless and easy for students.
Okay, thank you.
And I guess I just want to point out, that's one of the cool things. Mm-hmm.
No, you can go on. You can go on.
You hearing me?
Yes, I'm hearing you.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, no, I was just saying, one of the cool things about bioinformatics and and the space that you, because it involves so many different types of skill sets, you end up picking up a lot of things that you can employ, like a lot of the technical skills that you pick up as you pursue this field. You can employ it in other ways, right? Like if you're developing programming skills to apply to biological data sets, you can apply it to different kinds of data sets, or you can, you know, build your own applications and test out things. So you once you develop these skill sets, you can employ them in different ways.
Okay, so thank you. Everybody had a question?
No, I think he answered all the questions I had written down. All the questions I had to ask Camir. I think when you guys asked the questions, he answered everything within that with that one question. So I had a question, but he answered all at least with the explanations.
That sounds very efficient. We're being efficient.
Yes.
Yes.
So on that note, we'd like to thank you for giving us an insight into bioinformatics. I know that our audience would greatly appreciate, you know, knowing a whole other career that they would have never heard about, and giving us an insight into Minds of Jamaica, Minds of Initiative. I would also like to wish you all the best with the project. It sounds like a very nice project, something that everyone should be a part of. So we'd like to encourage persons to check it out. Any last remarks from anyone?
As for the persons that are listening out there, just subscribe to Minds of Jamaica. I'm seeing on Instagram. So yes, you guys subscribe for more information.
Yes.
Yeah, you know, we might be, you know, we're launching Trinidad and Tobago soon. We might be coming to an island near you at some point. You never know.
All right. So thank you for tuning in to Stemmy Conversations, and do have a great day.